Let's begin in the name of God, the most compassionate, the most merciful. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Iqra. Iqra, recitation, read. The first word of revelation. This, more than anything else, I think indicates the primary role that education plays in Islam. Another verse, al-qalam, referring to the pen, so it's not just recitation, but actually the written word, literacy, knowledge, the focus of the Quran on traveling through the land and understanding the histories of peoples who have gone before. I think that Islam and the message of the Quran emphasized not just education, but the education of women. And we see this in the teachings of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. When he migrated to Medina from Mecca, there he was free for the first time not just to establish mosques and to really lead the community and to set the example for what it meant to be a community of faith, but in doing so also set aside time to educate the women of the community. You see in some of the pushback of some of the Sahaba, some of the companions of the Prophet, that they complained that the women were becoming more powerful, more outspoken, and some of them were complaining. But I think that manifestation of women becoming more vocal and more empowered is a natural outcome of the role that Islam gave them and the education that the Prophet, peace be upon him, emphasized with regards to women. The assertion that Islam somehow prevents the education of women is an affront to the teachings of the Quran and of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. The Prophet emphasized knowledge and education to the point where after his death, his wife, Aisha, was herself not just a knowledgeable Muslim leader and scholar, but she herself taught many of the companions the Islamic faith, and she became a teacher to many of the prominent scholars. She herself narrated hundreds and hundreds of hadith of the Prophet, his statements, his wisdom. She passed it on, and she was the first of many women scholars throughout history. One of the sayings of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is that women should not be prevented from going to the mosque. And the mosque at the time of the Prophet wasn't just a place of prayer. It was a place of community and of education. And so I think in that injunction of not prohibiting women from going to the mosque, we see the foundations for what actually unfolded throughout Islamic history, early Islamic history, is that many women ultimately became scholars. And in fact, there are such great women scholars in the Islamic history that there's one famous couple where the woman was more scholarly than her husband, and she wrote a very large 12-volume work on Islamic law, and her husband abridged it to, I think, 6 volumes. And his work maybe sold more because it was the Cliff Notes version, but her work was more substantial and more sophisticated and nuanced. We find ourselves as a Muslim ummah, Muslim community globally, challenged with regards to how we treat women in our communities and how we educate or prevent women from being educated in our communities. And this is not a religious problem. This is a cultural, an ethnic, a tribal problem, and something that goes against the grain of the Islamic faith. One of the things that we should actively take upon ourselves is the role of having religion be the solution to some of these problems. Because if we take our religion seriously, then we let the values and principles of our religion inform our culture, shape our culture. And with regards to the tribalism or the attitude that is chauvinistic, that marginalizes women and relegates women to just the household, is not an Islamic value, and it contravenes the teachings of our faith. And as people of faith, we need to invoke the foundations and the principles of our religion to educate women and to uphold and uplift the role that they play in our communities and our cultures and our societies.